Dean, right?
Yeah, it's crazy though. I actually just drove. I'm back in Albuquerque. I just drove back here this morning from judicial selection. I was all the way
Clovis, right, or something?
I was out in Clovis. Yeah, I left at 6:30 this morning driving, and I just got here, so I'm like frantically kind of opening stuff up. Yeah, it was a long day of judicial selection yesterday. I
Well,
thought about driving back last night. Justice Brianna Zamora drove back last night, but I was torn because I didn't know. I get so tired driving at night. I'm like, oh, you never know when you've been doing this all day. So I opted to stay there, but that meant I had to get up really early this morning and hit the road.
it's a big state, and I don't know about the folks who wrote the requirement that the dean share the commissions. And I don't know if I would go along with that if I were the dean.
It's what it is. So I just saw the message. I literally am just kind of skimming through email as I pulled in off the road just a few minutes ago. And I did see the message from Karen that it looks like Ms. Seligman can't join us. But if everybody else does come, I think we will have a quorum without any trouble. But we'll wait and see. I do see Kmar's there. Mr. Ortiz there, and missing Carla Martinez. I don't see yet.
Right. I think that's right.
My clock says it's exactly 10:30 right now, so let's give her a few minutes. Morning, Justice Vigil.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and good to see you all again. I must let you know that I have to log off at 11:30, but I'll stay on as long as I can as a very interested party. By the way, Dean, very good list that the commission sent up for the Court of Appeals.
Oh yeah, it was a great list. Excellent candidates. It was really good.
It was very, very good. I'm glad I'm not the governor. I have to pick from one of them. Pick one of them, I should say.
True. Yeah, and we had as you know, we had another round out yesterday in Clovis, and I just drove back this morning, but we ended up sending 4 names out of the 9 applicants to the governor from Clovis yesterday.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's a long drive. I love Clovis. I don't know why.
I do too, but I had to leave. I had to be on the road by 6:30 this morning to make it in, get my computer on, all the stuff I needed to do. And you realize how big the state is when you're on the road.
Yes, you do. Sure do. Did you drive alone, Dean?
I did drive alone. So listen to a lot of radio.
If I'd have gone, you'd have had to listen to me the whole time.
Yeah.
Here's Lynette.
So we are still waiting. Has Carla Martinez come in yet? Hopefully she'll come in. I don't see her yet. And we technically do have a quorum without her here. We have over 50% of the commission here with me. So how many of us is now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. And right now we have Mr. Ortiz, Ms. Mar, and me here. So we do have a quorum, but let's give Carla Martinez a little more time.
I'll send an email, but I don't have her direct telephone number.
Let me see if I have it by chance
Yeah.
on my phone.
I'm guessing the dean or Chief Justice Vigil have a phone number for the state.
Yeah, let me check. I may, I never know.
Artie, I was just looking. I'm sorry, I do not have her number. She's got my number though, I promise you that.
Yeah, I don't seem to have her number either in my phone. I'm sure she's called me, but I must not have saved it, unfortunately.
So just a reminder that the YouTube live streaming is ongoing right now and everybody can hear what's being said. So just FYI.
Thank you. So the only way, you did send, Karen, you did send her a follow-up message.
I did send her to her Gmail account.
I do have her cell phone number. I can give
Oh.
her a call.
If you would give her, great, thank you. Oh, I see she's logging on right now.
So I'll start to record if that's okay with everybody.
That's fine, absolutely. Welcome, Ms. Martinez.
Good morning, Dean.
Good
I
morning.
apologize for my lateness. I was wrapping up another meeting that went longer than I expected, so I apologize.
No problem. We've all been there. So I want to welcome everybody. We have one of our commissioners is not here, but we do have a quorum. Ms. Seligman is unable to join us at the last minute, but the rest of us are all here. So I would welcome you again and like to thank you once again for your service. I think we'll just jump in. Hopefully this will be a relatively brief meeting as we're now at the kind of the final point in this process. But the first thing we do need to do is review and approve minutes from our last two meetings, which were on June 29th and July 20th. Those were circulated. I saw Mr. Ortiz made changes, and I've looked through, and thank you for that, Mr. Ortiz. I've looked through your changes, and I think they look really good. I don't know if the others on this commission have had a chance to look through the version as revised by Mr. Ortiz. You had a chance to look at that, Ms. Mar and Ms. Martinez?
I don't have any additional changes.
What about you, Ms. Mar? And you're muted. You're muted, Ms. Mar.
I'm
There you go.
sorry, I didn't get Mr. Ortiz's changes, but I assume he did what I did, which was to look at the detailed minutes of July the 20th and go back to see whether the corrections had all been entered. And I found that a number had not. So I presume that's what he's addressed.
So which one? So let's start with the June 20. I'm looking at the June 29th ones right now. So I'm looking at the version as revised by Mr. Ortiz. Is that the one you're looking at?
I don't have Mr. Ortiz's revised version.
You did not receive those? Do you have that handy to resend it, Mr. Ortiz, to her?
Yeah, I think so. I just replied to, I just attached it to a reply to all, but let me see if maybe.
Could you just describe what his specific changes were? Or-
Well, there were a number of them.
Yeah, and I could find it. Where did I have your
Is-
version?
Mr. Chair, it was sent on Wednesday, August 25th at noon
Yeah, and
to everybody as part of the string in which Karen had sent out the 4 documents. So it begins with JCC meeting materials as the heading from Karen on August 24th. And she attached documents for the committee, and then Mr. Ortiz.
I just sent them to her.
Oh, you just did again. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you receive them, Ms. Mar?
I don't know how I can get them with this. I have to get out of it. Pick them up.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I said, do I have to leave Zoom in order to pick them up? I have to go back to my email?
It should be in your email. Yes.
Let me see if I can do it.
I wonder if your filter put it in your junk mail.
Yeah, that's possible.
I've been called junk before.
Oh. Let's see. Just a second.
Do you have it there? Or I guess I could read through the changes manually. Just, although there are quite a few, well, it's not crazy.
I just don't see his corrections. I've got the email and he said it's in red, and the only thing I haven't read is attention, this email. from
So
someone
Ms.
else.
Mar, I will
Somebody in-
send you, I accepted all of them. I will send you the corrected, the accepted version, which doesn't have the red. You have to be able to go into track changes in order to activate that. Activate the red.
Well, all I'm getting from the from Mr. Ortiz is just the June 20th and June 29th minutes. But I don't see anything in red on them.
So Karen, were you resending those to her with the red in them, or is?
I just resent them with accepted or not the red. Do you want me to do the red?
Yes, she wants the red. So she can see what the changes are. Yes, Artie. Mr. Peppin.
Mr. Chairman, I think the changes that Ms. Mar is concerned about are on the July 29th minutes. So you could just go to the July 29th minutes and we'll find any that Mr. Ortiz found and any others. I noticed right off the bat that I have to change 21 to 22 on page 2. I missed that one. I got the next one. So we could just go through them if you'd like to do that more efficiently.
Yeah, Ms. Mar, you didn't have any changes on the June 29th minutes?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And so we now have the version with Mr. Ortiz's changes, which are not major substantive changes as I see. There are a lot of corrections. It says President pro tem to tempore, has Ms. Mar is appointed by the Speaker of the House. Patrick Ortiz is appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, correcting some terminology, judicial to district judge. I don't think there's a need to go through all these. I'm not seeing any substantive ones on these minutes. So I agree. Why don't we just vote on the approval of the June 29th and then spend our time on the July minutes?
Okay.
So I, at this point, would entertain a motion to approve the June 29th minutes as circulated and as amended by Mr. Ortiz. Anybody?
So moved.
Thank you. And I see a second with Ms. Martinez. If you support the approval of these minutes, if you'd please just hold your hand up clearly in front of your face, in front of the screen. Okay, three of, I only vote to break a tie, so we have a vote of 3-0, so that does pass. The June 29th minutes are adopted. Now let's turn to the July 20th minutes and go through those. Let me find, I am going to open on my screen the version as amended by Mr. Ortiz, which are not many amendments at all. So let's go through these, and now Ms. Mar can chime in as well on the changes she has. So Mr. Peppin, what did you see? You said you saw an error on the July 20th minute? You're muted.
The minutes are correct. I saw a change that I had missed. So, and that Ms. Mar was mentioning,
Okay,
that's all. But
Got
you'll get to that later when you get to the report, I assume.
got it. All right. So the corrections here from Mr. Ortiz again, he has corrected let's see, Deborah Seligman appointed by the Senate President pro tempore. Ms. Mar, did you have any changes to the first page of the minutes on July 20th?
No, sir, I didn't, other than, and maybe this is to follow, but what I did do is I went down each of these changes and compared it to the current draft, and I found that some of the corrections that were listed in the July 20th minutes were not incorporated in the draft.
Okay, I see. So we'll talk about that as we go through the draft, which we'll do next. So I don't have any changes to the minutes. Mr. Pepin's, I'm sorry, Mr. Ortiz's changes, as I said, were relatively small. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the July 20th minutes as amended by Mr. Ortiz.
So moved.
Second. Carla Martinez, a second that. If you'd please hold your hand up clearly in front of you. And I see, and Ms. Martinez does as well. Okay, it's approved 3-0. So the minutes are all approved. Now let's turn to what the substance of what we're talking about today. And this is the review of the report itself. At the final version, which the one we will be voting on, and we got to go through these changes. So let's go through, maybe I'll just kind of go one page at a time, but chime in if there is something that has been missed in this report, or if anybody has any broad questions. Or Mr. Pepin, do you want to take the lead on going through this since you've been front and center in doing these changes?
Yes, I was going to work off of those July 20th minutes, if that's all right.
That would be fabulous.
All right, so the
Let's
first,
go.
this is on, let me look, I think this is the second page, right? Yeah, page 2, there's a bunch of bullet points of the changes. And the very first one is to change 21 to 22, which I have made another note on here. And I know Karen will catch these. There'll be a lot fewer this time, I hope. That one needs to be changed. The next one that was changed, state bar, the one on the paragraph on page 4. The third bullet didn't require any changes. It was discussed by the committee. Page 5, sorry, the third paragraph, which I believe, let me see, I'm gonna make sure the change was made because I'm pretty sure it was.
Page 5, third paragraph. Hold on, I'm scrolling down, following you here.
Out of 55, it should say, which it does. It's
Yep.
the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line down.
Mm-hmm. Got
And then on the Court of Appeals judges, salaries rank 24 out of 42.
Mm-hmm.
Because the out of was put in there.
Out of
And
55.
Rank 27 out of 55 was put in there.
Looks
The
good.
next one on page 5 is the first paragraph toward the bottom, closer to, I know I made that change. Now let me find it.
First, page 5, first paragraph.
That's what it says. Well, of course, we're on different pages now. Right? Because.
Yeah, hold on here. Page 5, first paragraph to the unchanged, closer to. Where was that?
It's on the third line up from the bottom of the second paragraph on page 5 now.
Third line up, oh, I see it.
There's a
Closer
dollar
to what they
figure.
might earn in private practice.
Right.
Change to closer to. Okay, you made that change.
Right. On the next one, it's the next paragraph, and instead of trying to guess where they would end up, the salaries, once the January changes are made, because there will be changes in January by the different states. I just changed it to they are likely to be increased, meaning other state salaries. So the sentence reads, as you can see, ahead of Georgia, if all state salaries do not increase, right? By July 22, they are likely to be increased. That's the best. I thought that made more sense. I don't know if that's what the commission really wants, but you were struggling with, are we going to be above 30 or something instead of 28th? And I just made this change. So I need to know if that's what the commission wants.
So can you tell me again, I'm not seeing it. Which paragraph is it currently on page 5?
Looking at the current version, it's a paragraph that begins the JCC recommends the desired salary level.
Okay, I see it now.
And
So
third from the bottom, you see July 2022.
yes, do not increase by July 22. They're likely to be increased.
Yes, and the last version was they'll probably be above 30 or something like that. And it's hard to figure out where they're going to be. Plus, it's hard to say the ranking will be decreased by getting higher. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of be confusing. So I suggest to the commission this language may be what's intended.
I got it.
I'm asking.
I think that looks better. I think it looks clearer. Do Ms. Martinez, Ms. Marr, Mr. Ortiz, you agree that it seems clearer?
I agree.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's stick with it.
I
Mr.
see the
Peppin.
language, but I can't, in looking at the minutes, I'm not sure which bullet point this change is addressing. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the one that says page 5, third paragraph, New Mexico, a ranking likely to be at or above 30. That bullet.
I see. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Continue.
So the next suggestion has to do with the final paragraph about how the I'm sorry, the beginning of that third paragraph, the one we're just talking about.
Yeah.
So it should say the commission recommends a proposed salary level be achieved during the 22 legislative session when state revenues and projections are supportive of the increase. It says, well, you can see what it says. It's not exactly word for word, so it can be changed to be word for word, or you can like the way it's written. It's the first sentence.
22 when road show state resources are sufficient. That seems fine to me. That seems consistent with what Ms. Martinez was proposing. If I understand it, I think her proposal was trying to indicate, assuming that there's the money there for this, and that we're making our recommendation based on the assumption that the revenue will be there during the 2022 legislative session. I think it looks good.
Now, okay, the next one is about taking out the reference to Colorado and Utah are already paid above 183, and that's not there anymore. We're still on the same page.
Okay.
The next one went out to page 6. Now, I added a different discussion on pages 6 and 7, which I asked the commission to consider, but that's different than these bullet points because it wasn't there at all before. So page 6, I believe we're talking about page 9 on the current version.
So we're
So
scrolling down to page 9 on the current version now.
Uh-huh. So you see the discussion there in the paragraph that begins the average justice salary in these Mountain West states. There's a statement on the third line, the cost of living index reported by the salary tracker is 100.3%. It actually got changed in July from 101.1 to 101.3. So this version says about the national average. The committee was saying maybe it should say equal to the national average. It said something different before. But anyway, you can see what that sentence says and determine if that's the gist of what you want to say, or if you want it to say exactly what's written there as on the page 6 reference in that bullet point.
So why does it say, it says 100.1 in the minutes, but 100.3? in
I changed it because they reissue the report in July. Well, after July 1st to reflect salaries as of July 1st.
Okay,
And the index they're using went up to 100.3 from 100.1. It changes a little bit all the time. So I just used the current one because that's the one that's actually in the latest version, which you'll see is referenced to July 1, 2021 in the footnote at the bottom. The previous
see.
one we were using was January 1, 2021.
Got it. Yeah, I like the way you have it in here. That's consistent with what we voted on in the last version, just bringing it up to date.
The next bullet talks about removing stuff, which is removed. There's a bunch of repetitive things that were removed.
Okay,
So I
remember
can't
that.
tell you where they are because they're not there.
Yep, I remember that.
The justice salary, I've gone through this many times and I believe it's all correctly listed everywhere. So the figure on page 10, 153,394 should be the figure that you see everywhere. It's possible I missed one, but I believe they all say 153,394.
153,394.
We'll
Okay.
go through it one more time, obviously, and we can look for that specifically, but I sure hope that's what it says everywhere.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're talking about page 10, where it says the salaries in the chart on page 11. In the current version, that's page 10. We went through and did another look at a number of these salaries and added a few. Those specifically would be the federal judge pays. And we took out some that weren't confirmed, and you'll see the date is August 23 because the last time we confirmed a number of these salaries was August 23. So anyway, that's why it was changed because we added the federal salaries and we just confirmed a number of these on that date.
Okay, let's see, confirm.
So that's that footnote 6 on current page 10.
Footnote 6 on page 10. August 23rd. Hold on. So I think mine actually went up slightly. Let me pull up because hold on. I gotta find the Sunshine Portal.
That's not one I looked at, so I'd be happy to be corrected.
Yeah, I think I'm having a hard time pulling. I've got so many documents open.
I can note to check it, Dean. I mean, it's in the Sunshine.
You could check
Portal.
mine and match the Sunshine Portal because the university had its across the board raise, and I think mine went up just, it's not much, but a little bit. Just it should be accurate.
Yeah, we do. We definitely want to be accurate. And for the commission, the additions are the U.S. District Judge, the U.S. Magistrate Judge were added, and the 10th Circuit Judge. And that has to do with some of that material I asked you to consider in blue, which we'll talk about after we get done.
Talk about afterwards.
Let's see. Page 12, which I believe should be page 11. Third bullet point.
Period.
1, 2, 3.
I see it.
Yeah, they all end in periods.
Yeah.
Okay. This should be on that page. Also, the fourth bullet, which is the recruitment and election bullet.
Yep.
So a bit of this got changed to be more reflective and hopefully communicate better. I should specifically look and see if I added the "and qualified for selection." That's the specific one here. Applicants are not vetted. That's a second sentence.
Vacancy on the meeting.
So in the 1, 2, 3, fourth line, there's a sentence that begins, only those recommended as qualified by the commission are submitted to the governor. So this is reworded, but I believe what you were talking about in terms of and qualified is incorporated in that sentence.
I don't think so. This is actually a philosophical dispute I've had on judicial nominating commissions. Are we to recommend people who are qualified? Like if somebody is qualified, do we need to recommend them if the commission believes they're qualified? Versus, do we recommend people who are both qualified and the commission decides they want to recommend, which could be a smaller list than people who are qualified, because certain applicants will say, I'm qualified, therefore you must recommend me. And that's a more expansive view. So we would be recommending many more names. I believe in, as I've said on these commissions, I just said it yesterday, I believe in kind of the cream of the crop approach, that we oftentimes have more qualified applicants than we are going to recommend. We're just going to recommend the best out of a particular pool.
So I take it you're suggesting the as should be and.
I think it should be and, yeah, recommended and qualified.
And
Only those.
I don't want to run your meeting, but if that's all right with everybody, I'll make that, I'll note that change.
Yeah. And that works. Recommended and qualified. That works to say recommended and
Well,
qualified.
if somebody wants to argue with the chair of the commissions, then
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
make
just
that
trying to think if there's a better way to word it, because the reality is what we're doing is we are recommending people who are both qualified and the commission feels should be recommended. That's technically what we're doing. So I don't know if it would be clearer to just say, let me go back to that sentence now, what you have there. You've got only those.
Well, I could suggest.
You could just say recommended by the commission, I guess. I mean, I guess that gets there. It doesn't say, because we are recommending people who are qualified and we choose to recommend.
We can either
We
do
believe
that.
they should be recommended.
We can either do that, or we can say the commission submits to the governor for possible appointment those qualified and recommended, or something like that. However you want to do it, I want to get what you want.
Okay, hold on here. These are, let's see. Recommended and let's just go with only those recommended by the commission are submitted to the governor for possible.
Only those recommended.
That's the easiest way. And that doesn't explain the whys, but it's good.
I have a quick question, Dean. So
Yes.
the second sentence in that section on recruitment and elections says applicants are not vetted by the Judicial Nominating Commission. Is that, I know we talked about this in some.
That is correct.
That is a correct statement.
For the magistrate courts. Yeah, we don't do the magistrate courts.
Okay.
I could add magistrate applicants if you, I mean,
I would like that. That would help for the clarity, because that's specifically what we're saying.
right. The preceding sentence shows
Thank
that.
God. I would have to like quit my deaning job and just do that full time if I do that as well.
Oh, God. Okay. Next, the sentence I believe is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The seventh one down, it's in the middle. It begins, the sentence begins, well, on that page, it begins experienced, increasing difficulty identifying qualified applications with diverse practice backgrounds.
Mhm.
And that's the phrase that's in there now.
Yep, perfect.
Okay. Oh, I think the next bullet point relates to adding the bullet point that says, that's the second one on page 12, current page 12, current magistrate compensation is adequate. And that those through that bullet point addresses this point that the commission discussed on July, whatever that was, 20th, because the Supreme Court had met with the magistrates and they made that statement, and it was endorsed by all the folks that were on the call. So I put it in there. Does the commission want it in there? The discussion, you may recall, was that it seems to strengthen the recommendation, which in this section is to remove the magistrate judges from the statutory steps on salary.
If that meeting happened, we met with magistrate July 9th, 2021. Do not feel that a raise is required in fiscal year 23. Yeah, that sounds consistent.
Agree should be agreed. I don't know how I got my tense wrong, but
Yeah.
Otherwise that should be okay.
Yep.
Okay, next. Gosh, there's a lot of these. That change was made. Where is that?
Should we go back a paragraph to do so, it looks like? No. Second paragraph.
Second.
Seems like it may be identifying the wrong paragraph.
Okay, it's the paragraph underneath the diamonds. So you see Arizona is the last diamond.
Oh, yep.
Cost is also a factor. By contrast, if the statute did not mandate, so it accomplishes what the bullet point says. The third sentence of that paragraph says, by contrast, if the statute did not mandate an increase in magistrate pay.
Hold on. I'm looking at what's the heading of that? Must be looking at the wrong one.
So we're on page 12 of the current version.
Okay.
It's the paragraph underneath those diamond points with the states listed there, and it begins, cost is also a factor. Yep. And so there's a sentence after 5,791,088 is a paragraph, a sentence that begins, by contrast, comma, if the statute did not. And that's what this bullet point said to do.
Yep, I see it now. It looks good.
So I did not put in for all of these reasons. I did separate these paragraphs and have the bottom paragraph. So if you want to add in for all these reasons, the magistrate should be removed. Or if you like the paragraph the way it is, that's fine too.
I think it's fine as it is.
I will also tell the commission that the bullet point underneath the current magistrate compensation thing, which was new, the bullet point New Mexico magistrate pay compares favorably. That's all new. You may remember I was awaiting responses from the states about how their magistrate courts are constructed and how they're paid and how they're all kinds of stuff. And this paragraph and the diamonds underneath it reflect that information. So that's not part of I don't think that's on here, but that is new stuff based on what I received since that draft was in front of the commission. So
yes,
just FYI, you might want to, I'm sure you all read it. Hopefully it made sense. But I'm open to any editing on that. That is new material.
Looks good to me. Actually strengthens this argument.
So then we're on to the constitutional amendment, right? This bullet point just talks about, this was changed substantially. So my hope is that everybody all the members of the commission had a chance to read it. It's much shorter and it's just that page 13. And my hope is that it reflects all of that discussion, which those bullet points point out, about how to streamline down everything. Anyway, I hope it meets with what that discussion reflected, because my direction, I thought, was trim this down and focus on the constitutional amendment. I took out references to the individual legislators who sponsored legislation, but discussed the legislation. And I tried to emphasize at the beginning that the commission's view is that you need to change the pay right now. You could do it however they're going to do it, by just putting it in House Bill 2 or by the statutory change. But and then the commission supports a constitutional amendment of the type perhaps discussed in the last session or some other type that would make an independent body, which could be the Judicial Compensation Commission, set salaries. So I put that focus in there, and then I hope retain the parts that make the point that the commission wants to make. Change us from advisory to binding, or create a commission that will bindingly set salaries.
It looks good to me, but I do have a couple of changes in a couple of places, which I think add to clarity. I think at the beginning, the title, we probably ought to remove "or statutory
Oh,
change."
I can't believe I missed that. Yep, you told me that and I missed it.
Yeah.
The changes that I would recommend on the second paragraph, kind of in the middle, the sentence starting after New York where it says "in these states," I would remove that sentence and replace it with the following: before creation of the salary commissions, judicial salaries in these states failed to keep up with the competitive market.
I like that.
Okay, unless there's some objection, what I have is, I want to make sure I got the language right. Hold on, I can't write as fast as a professional person who takes notes would. Before creation of the salary commissions, comma, judicial salaries failed to keep up with the competitive market. Or you don't want the comma, but I think that's what you said.
Yeah, the commas is fine. I would say judicial salaries in these states
Ah,
failed to keep up with the competitive market.
okay, so if that's what the commission wants, after New York, I'm taking out "in these states" through the word "market" on the next line, competitive market, and substituting that sentence.
Yeah, I like it. It's clear. It says the same thing, but much clearer. I like it.
Then my next suggestion is on the last paragraph, which is about SJR 4 and HJR 12. Let's see, it's the fourth line up from the bottom, which has independent salary commission, which could be the JCC, set salaries for state elected officials. I don't think we want the JCC setting salaries for state elected officials.
No.
So I would suggest just striking which could be the JCC. Maybe we also strike set salaries for state elected officials, including judges. But I think the point is that we want an independent salary commission, which sets salaries for judges.
Would it reach the sense of what you want, just to take out the words "for state elected officials including," so that it just said "which could be the JCC, set salaries for judges"?
I'm not seeing where you. Oh wait, I see it above.
Yeah, that would work too.
So then the sentence would read, we support a constitutional amendment joint resolution in November 22 election to adopt a constitutional amendment to establish that the Ethics Commission or other independent salary commission, which could be the JCC, set salaries for judges.
Yeah.
So I think so. Can you read that one more time?
Sure. JCC supports a House or Senate joint resolution in the 2022 session to give voters the opportunity in the November 2022 election to adopt a constitutional amendment to establish that the Ethics Commission or other independent salary commission, which could be the JCC, set salaries for judges.
Yes. Yes, I like that.
That's all I had for that section.
So a lot of the other changes are really not possible to track because we took I took so much of that out based on the other discussions, but I believe that the everything in this part talks about the Judicial Compensation Commission. It could be the entity that sets judicial salaries. The point is, if you're going to do a constitutional amendment, have the commission that's setting judicial salaries be binding, right?
Mhm.
So I I don't know what else. So otherwise, it's really hard to track these specific bullet points because um, it was a lot of it was moved or
Mhm.
removed. Sorry.
I like this.
So hopefully, this one page takes out a lot of the gunk that was mucking up the whole message in
Mhm.
in the previous version.
Is much more focused on a constitutional amendment, some independent body that can set salaries for judges.
Can't believe
And it
I
could be
missed,
the JCC.
I missed that in the heading. Boy, that's terrible. Okay, so I think that's all that there is. A few of those bullet points go back to stuff that's not there now, I think. And that's the bullet points. I do want to discuss with the commission that language that's in blue, but obviously, Mr. Chair, it's up to you where we go next. If folks have other questions or issues about any of the.
Well, first let's pause and see, does anybody have so far in what we've covered? I see Justice Vihil has his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 4, I don't know if this was corrected or not, but on the next to the last paragraph, going up 5 lines, it says, with the recommendation to increase a district judge's salary to 165.18 in FY23. It looks like it's an incomplete sentence or something is just missing there.
I think it should be
That's supposed to be a comma.
Yes, I'm sorry. It was a period and it got a new sentence instead of comma. The pay would still be significantly less than the reported salaries of all those folks.
Okay.
It's a long
Yes.
sentence, but that's how it should have been written, unless the commission wants to do something different. Comma and then the becomes lowercase.
No, that looks like it's cleaning that up. Thank you. Good catch. Okay, so any other comments, Mr. Ortiz?
Yeah, on page 2, I think Artie already caught the 2020 should be 2021. But under statutory requirement, we had already flagged that JCC would mean Judicial Compensation Commission. I guess it doesn't hurt to repeat it again, but in the interest of brevity, I would say the at the first line, the JCC. And then the last line, again, to accomplish the recommendations of the JCC. The other thing I might add, and it may not be all that critical, but I noticed that there's some inconsistency throughout the document on whether judge or district court is capitalized, but I didn't try to go through and make them all consistent. But
You're right about that. And at different times when I was writing different parts, I did different things. I'm happy to take direction from the commission if you want. Justice, I always capitalize, I think. Do you want magistrate, district court, court of appeals judge? Do you want those things capitalized? Do you just want the title capitalized and not the word judge? However you want it, I'll be consistent. I didn't consult a style manual. I don't know if there is one that suggests how you do that. I always capitalize justice, but probably because I work for them. We can capitalize them. Nobody gets offended if we capitalize metropolitan.
Nobody gets offended if you capitalize it. So that's the easier way to work.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
We'll go through that. Karen, you understand what we're saying, right? We'll both have to go through that and catch. I hope we don't miss one, but we'll try to catch all of them where we refer to a specific court, like Court of Appeals judge. If I just say judges, we're trying to raise the salary of judges, that won't be capitalized.
Artie, the other thing to that point on page 3 as an example, the second bullet point says no salary increase for magistrates. I don't know if you want to make that magistrate judges.
Oh, magistrate judges, yeah. That's
Yeah,
clear.
Question, sometimes I say magistrate, often I say magistrate, I don't say magistrate judge. So whatever you want consistently.
I would do magistrate judges.
Okay. And that'll be capitalized.
Yes, just do it throughout, anything like that.
Okay.
Other changes before we obviously have to talk about this blue stuff, which is new to me, all the new additions.
Yeah, I was just going to go through before we get to the
Yep.
blue stuff.
Yes.
On page 3, under summary of FYI 2023 recommendations, the first line of the first bullet point, I think courts should be singular, should be district court judges.
That's true.
And then on the,
Capitalized now, district court judges, right, will be capitalized?
yes.
Sure.
Yeah, and I won't go through those. The second bullet point on the first line, I think there should be a comma after 34-1-9.
Yeah.
You should put that in, okay.
On page 4, on the first paragraph, fourth line up from the bottom, July 2019, I think there should be close parentheses after 2019.
Yeah.
And then on the third line up from the bottom of that same paragraph, as well as local and state, I would put executive employees.
State executive, is that what you're saying? State executive?
Yes. Yes, that tracks with a reference later in the paragraph to executive. And then the Chief Justice already caught the next one that I have. On the last paragraph on that page, the first line, I think that we could strike the paren now 4 years ago.
Where is that? I'm missing that one. Oh, I see it now. I got it.
And then at the end of that paragraph, because I trying to get into Artie's mind that I think he was trying to emphasize the point that about the comparison of current to past. Put in a new sentence. It therefore appears that, comma, rather than making progress in achieving competitive judicial salaries, comma, New Mexico is falling further behind.
Okay,
I
I'm
think
gonna
that-
have to.
I think that carries the assumption that when the next bar survey comes out in 2021, the salaries are going to be increased.
So I miss a piece of what you said, so I'm going to read what I have. It therefore appears, comma, rather than making progress in something, New Mexico is falling further behind in judicial salaries, or I don't know.
In
what.
achieving competitive judicial salaries. Yeah, it therefore appears that, comma.
It therefore appears that. It therefore appears that, comma, rather than making progress in achieving competitive judicial salaries, New Mexico is falling further behind.
Yeah, with a comma after salaries.
I was going to ask about that. If the commission wants that, I'll add that at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good to me. Other stuff, Mr. Ortiz?
Yeah, on page 5, the end of the second paragraph, kind of a stylistic thing for me, change infra to below.
You're the dean of the law school. You tell me how we write these things these days.
I know. Let's go with below because we got a lot of legislators who are reading this. So I think below is a safer way. We're non-lawyers.
I got it.
And then at the end of the page, the last two lines where it says JCC makes no recommendation, I would change that to JCC does not recommend increasing. And the
Or
rest.
how
of
about
it.
recommends no, not increasing, or recommends no increase too? Like, so that's an affirmative recommendation.
Yeah, that's fine.
JCC recommends no increase for in or for magistrate judge salaries for FY23.
Yes.
Do you want it to be no increase in magistrate salaries?
Knowing, let's see. Yeah, that's fine. It's kind of a neither here nor there, in or for, both of them work, I think.
Okay.
Other changes, Mr. Ortiz, before we go to the blue stuff?
Yeah. On page 10. Oh, wait. On page 9, the footnote at the top of the page, I think that should be footnote 5 rather than 6.
Oh.
Yep.
And then on page 10, in the footnote, next to the last line, I would spell out and take out the ampersand.
I wonder how I got that in there. Huh. Interesting. I agree with you. I don't know why I put that in there.
And then on page 12, in the next to the last paragraph, on the first line, it says district court pay. I would add district court judge pay. Put the judge in there.
I'm sorry, oh, to achieve the target of district court judge pay. Okay.
Yeah, and then the same thing on the last sentence of that paragraph.
And there's an example where I didn't capitalize it and then I did.
Yeah. And that's all that I have.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question for the next iteration? Because we're gonna get this out pretty quick. Do
Yep.
you want to see both a kind of a red line version and a clean version, so you see where the changes were made, or just a revised clean version?
I think at this point, just because these are relatively small changes, one revised clean version, just that we could even just by email say, yes, we approve.
I appreciate that. That's great. Okay, so I don't know if anybody else has any other changes other than discussing the blue stuff.
The blue stuff now. So so this is the first I'm seeing the blue stuff. My immediate, just for what it's worth, my immediate, I want to hear what you have to say, Mr. Pepin, but my immediate reading of this is that it seems it kind of detracts from what I was hoping to accomplish, which was keep it simple and streamlined and focus the legislature on just this is what we're proposing. And I do worry that it'll complicate things adding this to the mix right now. But that's my initial gut response.
So I certainly agree that you can take out all of this and your recommendations are made and I think they're communicated clearly. This I put in because as things develop, the Supreme Court obviously is on a parallel track with the JCC with regard to judicial salary recommendations. While the Supreme Court has supported and will support the recommendations of the commission, in the budget request for fiscal year 23, the Supreme Court determined that that the legislature should consider our competition not only with other states or with lawyers and partners and all those in New Mexico, but also the fact that New Mexico has these federal judges who also, we lose judges to the federal bench. And there's a lot more competition, a lot more applicants, I suppose, for many of those positions than you've experienced sometimes with the nominating commission. So the Supreme Court budget request is based on that third bullet point on page 7, a linking to the federal magistrate pay at 201,112. That's really why I put this in there, because of conversations with the Chief Justice and with the court about where the court is going in terms of its budget request on judicial pay. So the Chief Justice is here. He can address, why the court did that in addition to my comments or whatever. That can all be fine, and you want this out of your report, or maybe you want to add it in there. That's where that discussion comes from.
So did you want to comment on that, Chief?
Yes, I'm happy to, Dean, and I'm going to have to go as soon as I'm done with my comments. I apologize. The Supreme Court conferenced this, and the Supreme Court fully supports and thanks the Judicial Compensation Commission for this recommendation. But the more we looked into it, and it kind of goes along with one of the suggestions that Mr. Ortiz made, that the court is falling further behind as opposed to keeping up. And the last salary comparison was in 2017, and we're trying to reflect more of what's going on today and making an increase. And we've received some support from certain legislators that perhaps this 167 figure for district court judges should be increased. So what we did was we looked into what is the bottom, what is the lowest judicial salary for U.S. Federal judges, which is the U.S. magistrate, and we tied it to the Supreme Court request to that figure, which is 92% of a federal district court judge, which is still below prior bills that were introduced by the legislature. But we fully support everything that the commission has done. And we note that the commission did make its recommendations before based upon a 5-year plan. And it was my determination that rather than wait 5 years, we should go for that now. And anything that we're doing now is better. I mean, any increase we can get is better than what we're getting now. And so that's briefly in a nutshell, the explanation that I have. And we're not asking the commission to change its recommendations, fully support it. It's fully documented and most appreciated by the judiciary, I can assure you. So thank you. And I hope that explains what we're going to do during the session and when we appear and present our budget to the legislature. It will increase the funding to $6,898,517, which is compared to the figure $4,257,817.79 on page 6 of your report here. So it'd be a significant increase. So I just wanted to let you know that that's the difference, and that would be recurring funds to the judiciary for judicial salaries. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has questions. Otherwise, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any commissioners have questions or comments at this time? Ms. Martinez.
Chief Justice Behill, in your budget appropriation request, are you asking for the 6 million versus the 4.2 million, the 6.8 million? I guess I hear exactly what you're saying, and so my worry would be if your request that you're submitting now in September is asking for the 6.8, and then we have this report requesting the 4.2 number. I just want to make sure we're not in contradiction. So I guess I'm sorry, go ahead.
The answer to your question is no, we do not. Yes, we are going to submit for the 6.898. We do not take a position that we are in any way in contradiction with each other in that the commission is recommending, there's my call. I'm sorry, I have to go.
No problem.
I apologize.
No problem.
I can't say,
So-
Mr. Chair, that the legislature has, in the recent past, appropriated higher increase than was recommended by the commission. And they did that most recently when, for fiscal year 22, they appropriated 3.5%, and I believe the recommendation was 2%. You were dealing with a budget crisis that was worse when you made your recommendations than it turned out to be when they got in the session. But they did, for this year, appropriate more than was recommended, although the Supreme Court had requested the recommendation.
I guess my knee-jerk response on this, I'm trying really hard to get this increase through that we talked about and recommended last time, and I'm worried that throwing in, I'll call it the blue language, but throwing in the blue language is going to muddy the waters, and for certain legislatures, maybe I'm biased on this because I just came from Eastern New Mexico, but and had a lot of conversations off the record with people, as you do in between sessions, and I worry about this idea linking compensation and therefore state spending and resources to something that's fully outside the control of the state legislature. And that's what the federal government thinks. And I think certain people are going to be immediately resistant to it. And I kind of worry that going for it in that way torpedoes our entire effort, in that certain legislatures will just say, no, I don't, you guys just are asking for way too much. That's my concern. Mr. Ortiz.
I'm wondering if we can minimize what looks like a disagreement by saying the 165,000 recommendation is a minimum, because it was developed a few years ago, and as I pointed out, it is looking like we're falling further and further behind. So we stick with our recommendation of 165,000, but we say it's a minimum, that it could even be higher, and that would at least provide some minimal support for the budget that's being submitted by the court.
And I would add to that, I would actually even add to this, this would effectively be gutting the blue language, but something along the lines of what you've just suggested with this being a minimum. We are aware that the Supreme Court is asking for more, or is likely to ask for more, and we would support more, but this is our recommendations that at a minimum, this is what we're seeking, and just keep it real clean.
Mr. Chairman, if that's the sense of what the committee wants, then I would suggest I can keep the paragraph, the first paragraph, right, which says whatever it says about how you appropriate the money or not. I would suggest you want the chart in there because it shows the overall cost, how you get the cost of the recommendation you have to get to 165. And then I could write a paragraph that, again, I'll put it in blue in the new version because it'll be new language, but it'll just be a paragraph to say, I hope, what you and Mr. Ortiz just said.
Let's hear what Ms. Martinez and Ms. Maher have to say. I've not heard from them.
I would agree. I guess I have two concerns. One is that we would be contradicting what the court is trying to achieve. And I'm all for if they are able and they have support from legislators to even get a larger increase, I'm all for it. But I almost feel like this is similar to the Constitution statutory law language where we put alternatives and then it confuses individuals. So I like your suggestion. And I also have similar concerns, Dean, about some legislators having a reaction to a tie to the federal system and saying that has nothing to do with us, and so they just sort of ignore it. But I like your idea of, at a minimum, we as a commission are recommending setting district court judges' salary at 165. But, you know, fully support the court in getting even higher salaries because they continue to fall behind other attorneys within the state of New Mexico.
In a way that strengthens our argument, in a sense, saying it seems to increase the odds of us at least getting this minimum that we're recommending, saying, well, at a bare minimum, you know, this is what we want. But of course, you know, it could certainly be more, and the court is, you know, we understand recommending more, et cetera. Ms. Maher, what thoughts do you have on this? Are you turning off the mute, or you can't tell?
It still indicates that the mute is on.
My
There you
computer
go.
seems to be going in and
There it
I
is.
There you go.
apologize.
We can hear you now.
Okay, well, I said I agree with Mrs. Martinez. And that's wise. As with respect to the 165,000 being a minimum, I think that's worth expressing. I mean, I think these legislators certainly by now should be well.
You've frozen on my screen. You maybe try turning off your video and just go with audio. Still frozen. This didn't happen when we went back to in-person judicial nominating commissions yesterday. Nobody froze in the room with me. It's kind of nice, although we all had masks on all day, which is
While we're waiting for Kay, I'm wondering if maybe in the discussion on page 5 about trying to keep up with attorney pay in private practice, we might also add a point about
federal.
competition with federal judges
Mhm.
and the need to try to keep up with them as well.
Yeah, and actually now to kind of, you know, give a nod to the Supreme Court's recommendation, I would actually be fine in that context of that paragraph saying, you know, something like, you know, one approach would be to tie, and we would not at all be opposed to tying to in some way to federal judges' salaries. Leave it at that. And then it supports what the Supreme Court is doing, but without taking this kind of, I think putting it in the way it is with all the blue text right now, I think Ms. Martinez hit it on the nail on the head with it. It does kind of go back to the constitutional amendment versus statute thing. And I do think anything that's like a muddied, unclear, like we are recommending this, and I'm completely fine with the minimum at a minimum and leave it really clear. I think that's just going to strengthen our argument and ensure that at a minimum we get what we're recommending, and perhaps more if they go along with what the Supreme Court is recommending, which is perfectly fine with me as well. Ms. Martinez.
Another maybe way to intertwine some of the federal salaries is, I think I heard Mr. Pepin say that they are losing judges to the federal bench because of the competition. So maybe I'm just thinking on page 11, where there's recruitment and election, that we can integrate some of that there as well, which is individuals are not applying to be on the state judiciary because of salaries. And furthermore, the federal bench, salaries are much higher. And so individuals that are interested in a judicial track are really looking at the federal system over the state system. So maybe that's another way of trying to incorporate some of it into the report.
Yeah, I think that would be a good addition.
Yeah,
Where do we want to put that, Mr. Chairman?
I'll let, where are you suggesting exactly, Ms. Martinez?
I was maybe thinking page 11, the bullet point about recruitment and election.
I see it, the last bullet point.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. So, and I think from what I heard of Ms. Marr, I think she's on the same page with the rest of us. Is that correct? I can see your head now, Ms. Marr, but I don't know if I can hear you yet.
Yeah, I apologize. My computer is just cutting in and out for some reason. But yes, I am in agreement.
Great,
with
thank you.
And, yes.
So, Mr. Pepin, I guess, that means as kind of a starting point, as a general matter, deleting the blue text. Maybe save it for a future report. Don't dispose of it entirely.
Well, you might put it again on some kind of handout that we use in the session. Who knows?
Okay.
But what I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, then is I take a stab at writing based on my notes in the different parts, those references to the federal salaries and your support. And I will put those in blue. Again, that'll be different blue language, much less. And that way we won't track the changes of the editing nature, capitalization and all that. But you will see the new language that's in place of all this blue language. And you can see if it works for you. I don't know that, I hope I get it well enough that you can say, yes, that's what we wanted. And everybody will say, good, well, final. And then you don't need another meeting just to talk about that, but that would be up to you. But I can do that in fairly short order and get it back to the commission so you can see if I got the sense of everything you discussed on the federal thing.
Yeah, and we may have to do one more of these meetings. So I guess, yeah, send it to us though to take a look at it. And then I would hope if we do one more meeting, it's just an up-down vote meeting at that point. No new stuff on it because we're really getting down to the wire here. And I do think the final vote has, because of Open Meetings Act's concerns, I think we have to have a vote on the final version. Or public vote on the final version, I should say. But I would keep any changes as simple as possible. My goal, my overarching objective is not much new text, very little, just saying this is a simple, clear, decisive recommendation of this at a minimum. And in some way, a little bit saying, of course, if the Supreme Court is seeking more, tie it to federal, we would support that as well. But this is keep it clear and concise and to the point.
I hear you, Mr. Chairman. We lost 4 pages in this version, so we're getting there, right? I will do that. Do you want to suggest when the commission would find it convenient to meet? And that'll give me my timeline for when I need to get all this out to you and all that.
We're already at the end of August, so I guess as soon as you can get us these changes, which I do think should not take long, if you could get us the changes within, what is next weekend is Labor Day weekend. So right after, immediately after Labor Day weekend, and then maybe we could take a look at it and then figure out after we see it, if anybody has any issues, communicate those by email. And then we'll quickly set up a meeting right after that and by Zoom and just do an up-down vote, hopefully. But I think our any changes when we see this version, if people spot any errors, they should respond by email. And hopefully all we're doing is just, we're down to the final version of this.
I can certainly do that, Mr. Chairman. I anticipate I'll have this to you before I leave town next Wednesday night.
Great.
Did you hear
Sounds
that?
good. I'm leaving town Thursday night for the holiday weekend, so you don't have to rush it, but that's fine. Wednesday's good, then everybody can read it.
I gotta get it done. That's all there is.
Mr. Peppin, are you leaving town right after the budget is submitted?
That's just a mere coincidence. I will get to talk about the budget a lot, as you well know, Madam Bar President.
All right, is there anything else before the commission for today?
Oh, the Chief
Yes,
is back, but
Justice.
I think he's muted. We can't hear you, Chief.
Hey, your volume is down or something. We're not able to hear you. Nope.
Doesn't show him muted, but
Thank you. All right, I will. We'll be in touch by email, and thank you everybody for your time. And I guess no further business. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission.